Usahay sa mga magsaksakan.
Maayong gabi, maayong buntag sa mga higala, sa mga Usyoso. Mga Usyoso na sa dagkaron, gabi una. And this is actually, nakalimot na ko unsa ning episode, buds. Di na
Pet
ko
Senior.
hinumdum.
Pet
Pit
Senior sa mga
Senior.
viewers nato diha.
Pit Senior sa Cebu. Sus, kanindot.
Cebu.
Sus, gimingaw gigog sinulog. Murag dugay-dugay na gigog. Wala ka kuwag sinulog ba? Murag dugay-dugay na gid. Kumusta diya, buds? Naman ka? Mao ba? Mao ba?
Pero mo na sabak nakado. Daghan kay tao gid grabe.
Dagang kay tao dito Cebu.
Kadaghan ng tao. Yeah.
Okay. Pero wa mo niya to sa Cebu karon.
Wala ra procession man doon. Ugma ang pista.
Oh yeah, procession pa man day sa. Sakto procession pa man day.
Ispiras karon.
Shout. Okay. Mayo. Actually, nakalimot na gani ko nagtuo ko nga kuha na karon ka ng sinulog na ugma pa man day sakto. Shout out lang ko ni kuha no. Before sa magsugod ba yung kay naman tay kanang kuan karon guest actually, special guest. Before lang mag-start sad na ako mo shout out lang ko ni Yus Abanyo o ni Jerry Ong, mga amigo ni sila, and I hope mag-abot ni sila karon nga weekend kay may na lang ba mag-abot ba. So sayang kayo ang panahon niya sinulog niya. Memories ba, core memories. So may tag mag-abot ni sila. So shout out lang ko nang duha, may tag mag-aabot na gid sila eventually. Nindot unta. So anyway, again, Pit Senior sa mga viewers. So ang among topic karon gabi una or for this episode, and to be honest, wala ko kay numdum ikapila ni nga episode. That means ubay-ubay na mo nakuan nga unsa tawagan ni ubay-ubay ng episodes. And for this episode, we go a bit more deeper, no, in terms of kanang mga relationship buds. And this time, naatay guest. So, among guest karon is dili someone nga wala pa naka-join na mo, but actually someone who naka-join na, which is actually last week nga si Neil Christian Baulita. So kung ilisan pa sa Neil Christian Badana, pwede sad. Mura lang may combination na lang. Pwede. Good things. But yeah, so he will be joining us and we will be talking about intimacy, relationships, understanding intimacy more or less. Kay mo na yahang like yung job dito ba. So he was really excited nga mo share na mo. So mo to nga for us also kami ni Balz, ni Neil, ni Eileen, there is a Usyoso is like curious at me with regards to sa iyang kuan ba, iyang work, how does it work sa kanang mga ingana nga mga staff ba kay wala ang tanan sa Pinas.
Actually ako karon ko nakadugo gana na din ana
Barriada. Yes, correct. So he will be joining. I think he's trying to join now si Neil. So just a background, kuan nila mo siya kanang high school classmate din sa Boys High, the University of San Carlos. And it's also appropriate nga sinulog karon, we reminisce sa sinulog. And then kay mo lagi taga Cebu man ta, so muna mo sing invite, and it's something that let's say the idea of being passionate, which is actually kanang sa tawagan na sa sinulog sad. And si Neil Christian is also he's actually very passionate to what he is doing there in how do I say, in London. So let's see, I'm trying to connect with him, so hold on lang mo. But in any case, buds, unsa man ay walay unsa may kasikas diha in parallel diha sa seaside.
Sa mga tao diri sa atong karong mga oras no, Christian. Una, I think human ng posisyon siguro or mas na ron, sugod na. Nya, kani, after aning dinner siguro, daghan pa yung tao diri. Kaya aray na, mga manihapon.
Mm. So like unsa man pero wala na busy kayo diha.
Kung kayo na. The usual na to sinulog sa una nga. Aroy.
No, wala na magugug ka. Wala na ko ka-experience sa sinulog actually in terms of kanang kanang katong nanay seaside. Wala mo ko kaabot sa seaside ba.
Yeah. Una, dati ang kuhan mo na. Karon daghan na rin kapilian kung asa mga tao after magsimulog. Daghan na kay mga establishment, mga tindahan, mga kananan. Daghan kapilian. Unlike sa una ba nga after sinulog, mag-aabot ang mango,
Yeah,
kayala.
exactly.
Diba?
Exactly kanang nga ba nga mag-abot
Dito,
dito.
mag-aabotan nun.
Tapos mag-iinom. Unsa nam di karon day? Maunsa nam day sinulog?
Yeah, actually mo manggapon pero daghan na lang nagbuwag ng mga tao ba. Buwag na.
Okay. Pero wala na katong kuan. Wala na katong unsay tawagan na? Katong unsay tawag kanang katong party dito sa syudad ba?
Siguro gahapon. Actually, ang gahapon, Friday gahapon, naman to yung kakartukan. Karon parokyan siguro doon sa Juan, sa SMC side. Nakaroon na sila yung banda.
Okay.
Na 3 days. I think Juan.
Nana si Neil Christian.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice. Ninduta ko na imong kuan diya good background. Murag nindut kay
AI na nga background.
Unsa man AI na?
Naka green screen ka diya, sir.
No.
Ninduta ko na good. Hi, good morning, bay.
Good morning.
More Prisco kay kada.
Yeah, it's sunny outside, which is so unusual and for winter and but tapos I've just been out running, so a bit fresh and just had my coffee, so all good.
Yeah, nice. So nagstory kami kay Duty Buds about sa sinulog ba. So kay sinulog weekend man karon. Yeah, it's sinulog weekend man karon. So
I have a lot of friends from the UK, from London, who are in Cebu right now for sinulog.
Me too. Yeah. Na ako'y mga kailang actually Singaporeans ni visit sila Cebu. Mga sa sinulog. Yeah. So anyway, welcome bay. Welcome again actually. Welcome again. And for this time we will talk about something different, something much more intimate. So which is about relationships and actually even sex.
Okay.
So before we start, while we are in it, I know that you've been passionate about your job there in London, and maybe to get started and then to keep things slower first and more, let's say at least for us, maka-understand, so maybe give us a, let's say an overview also for the viewers, like who you are and then where you are from, where you are right now and then what you're doing. Maybe just a quick run through. I know you explained this last time, but for this episode, I think let's start with that.
Okay, fantastic. My name is Neil, pronouns he, him. I should always do that with all the intros, actually. So I've been working in sexual health for the longest time ever. I think 13 to 14 years now, and working. I used to be an HIV specialist. From HIV specialist, went to HIV research. From HIV research, went to public health, and from public health, I went to sexual health intervention prevention, and then after that, I become a lead senior sexual health advisor for Southwest London, because London is like Metro Manila with different cities bound into together. Then after that, I become the lead senior sexual health advisor for Sexual Health London. So it's a really good transition, and been passionate about sexual health and sexual well-being because it interlinks with our mental health. And if people think, most especially for our Asian viewers and most particularly in the Philippines, that mura siyang bastos, or like
Mhm.
it's a very taboo topic when we're
Mhm.
talking about sexual health. But they don't understand nga link siya sa atong happiness, atong joy, atong
Mhm.
who we are, and who who we are as a person, and who we are in the relationship, and who we are in the society. If we don't see that, because
Mhm.
if we put shame and a lot of like issues with our like sexuality, sexual well-being, sexual health, then we are not our authentic self.
Mhm. Correct. That's actually a good way to start it. No? So interesting kaya naminaw lang ko na nahisgot na ka about sexual health and actually well-being. Maybe a little bit by like before we go to the very interesting and juicy parts, can you explain a little bit how you ended up having this like job related to sexuality?
Okay, so base um I think since before in the Philippines, I was
Mhm.
already interested about like
Mhm.
um, um, infectious diseases, and after ko nag nursing sa Pilipinas,
Mhm.
nag masters ko og psychology.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
nangita gid ko because of course I'm proud being as a gay man, and in the Philippines there's no like gay psychology, there's no like understanding our sexuality. So basically I was just like grasping the fact like, oh my god, we're so behind of things. So Cebu Normal University ko nag masters, but naputol akong
Mhm.
masters sa normal because I went here to the UK, and it took me time to be in sexual health and HIV, because I have to do a lot of studies and I have to do a lot of progress. And when I was nag, nag, na ako sa Barts Health East London Trusts, na ano say tawag na na there was like a split up, and they were telling us like, okay, either you go to a respiratory specialist ward, or you go to an HIV
Mhm.
ward. So I took the
Mhm.
opportunity to join the HIV specialist ward.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Ah.
because in the HIV specialist ward, gihimo siya og kanang infectious diseases ward gani. So
Mhm.
because here HIV is so manageable, but the only problem with HIV is when there's co-infection. So
Mhm.
co-infection means that HIV, but ang nakapatay nila ang TB, ang nakapatay nila ang hepatitis,
Ah,
ang
okay.
nakapatay nila, or like mga different kinds of infections. So
Mhm.
we need to make sure that we're also addressing TB. We have TB in this on the joints, on the bones,
Mhm.
on the stomach, or anything like
Okay.
that. That because they're already on anti-suppressive medications, such as like
Mhm.
antiretrovirals. Um, we need it's such a scientific thing. Like we need to investigate um, how we could prolong a healthy life for people living with HIV. So muna akong na how I started. Then
Mhm.
I then look into HIV stigma, because a lot
Mhm.
of there's always stigma no matter what,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And even here in the UK, there's people still have stigma. Even your healthcare professional, people still have
Mhm.
stigma. So I investigated where the stigma comes from. So that's where I did
Mhm.
some of my HIV research, because it's not only with HIV research, people always think that it's only medication.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can
Okay.
also do research about social interaction towards a disease,
Mhm.
because stigma is the number one killer of HIV. Because if a person has stigma within themselves, or the society
Mhm.
or the family have stigma within HIV, then people don't take their medication. Therefore, it kills them. So that's where
Mhm. Mhm.
the problem is. So after that, and then I also met a lot of people living with HIV, and also I was talking about their sex lives, how they were trying to like their psychology. I always am so interested of human behavior anyway, and And because of that one, ni adto ko niingon ko sa akong mga managers nga I'm gonna specialize in sexual health in the future. And basically I went to public health. So ni let go ko sa akong HIV role, ni adto ko sa community
Mhm.
to be part of public health. Yeah, another studies again, another masters. And ngadto ko naka-learn nga complex ang nature sa public health, because of course it's of any kind of like reportable diseases. This is what you call reportable diseases, like COVID, TB, HIV, everything like that, because it could
Mhm.
cause implication to the public, right? So there's
Ah.
we need to make sure nga ang monies or ang finances would be managed well. So that's public health for you. And also children, vaccinations, maternal
Mhm.
health, everything. So after that, I went to King's College to work as a sexual health intervention and prevention nurse. I was also the youngest um, person there, and the person of color nga nahimo og kanang governor for
Mhm.
nurses and midwives. So I represent all the nurses and midwives in King's College, and
Mhm.
I was the LGBTQ chairman for King's College.
Mhm.
So I was doing a
Mhm.
lot, and I was working
Grabe.
with.
Grabe ang mga achievement.
Grabe.
And
May gani mo
Ang
pa
mga
nito
achievement.
akong sugong ko dere.
I was really doing a lot. And then
Mhm.
I was invited to Berlin to be
Mhm.
part of the international conference of HIV and sexual health. And there we were.
Mhm.
You know, this is where like international conferences and
Yeah,
studies
yeah.
and are happening. And you see, like, I was always looking for Philippines, but sometimes, of course, it's they're just like on the video call. And
Mhm.
after nag-lead ko sa King's College, I went to Southwest London. So I covered different boroughs. So borough is a city. So I covered
Yeah. Mhm.
three borough of Wandsworth, Richmond, and Merton. And
Mhm.
I was the lead senior sexual health advisor there. Then I was just there for a year. Then I moved to a senior sexual health advisor for all of London.
Which is muna karon imong let's say
Current
imong
role, current
occupation,
role,
current role.
yep,
Okay.
for 3 years now. Um,
Okay.
so this is it's so we're handling 290 million pounds worth of
Muna siyang
monies
bali muna siyang budget sa kanang imong let's
budget.
say
Yeah,
city. Oh, okay.
yeah. So the whole
Okay.
city of London.
Wow. So
That's
nag-mention gano like for example I think nag-work ka from one role to the other. Unsa man na ba? Is it something like when you have these roles is it like different companies or different kind of government departments or something?
different organizations. Yes,
Okay.
it's still in the streamline of NHS England and public health. It's very
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
it's very pragmatic. So in the UK, there's like what we call how to call this sexual health guidelines and not national health services that
Mhm.
mandates unsa ang plan, unsa ang budget, blah 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 blah. But then again, you could then specialize on one field with
Mhm.
specific streamlining of budget, and then to so that's the reason why you need research, because you need then to
Yeah.
say like these budget are needed for these kinds of diseases, this kinds of prevention, these kinds of promotions, all of that things.
So
Yeah,
basically, mura na ganang na you're practically working for the government and then you've been going for this, let's say, I call it departments, but like line organization.
yeah.
So
So
as yeah.
I keep on going up and up, and
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't I don't accept no for an answer.
No, that's good. Actually, that's
Yeah,
good. That's good.
Ayos.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. I mean,
I always
to
say
be honest. Mm-hmm.
I
No, no,
always
go
say
ahead.
like there's always solution for things.
Yeah, dude, that's true. Because bago ako I mean, bago may ka-chat sa, no? Just the background, I mean, may
Mm,
ka-chat, may mga GC no, yung nag-story may ka ng, especially like Filipinos, kita Filipino, na most of us
yeah,
na anad, mangudag ka ng, mo yes lang ta, o nya, kung dilit na sugtan, Okay, that's fine. Like kanang okay o kanang okay na lang ang mentality aside sa Filipino mong good. Sometimes kanang di sa siya maayo ba. And then when you say that you don't say no for an answer and you keep trying to achieve more and or higher and higher, I think that's one way to really grow, no?
Um, I
Especially.
think I think the most important thing, I'm very
Mhm,
easy to talk to. I'm very,
mhm,
I always, so I can get what I want. I always present
mhm.
with data and numbers. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
evidence
yeah,
based.
yeah,
So
yeah. Exactly.
so they will also, and secondly on that one as well is that you always ask for professional curiosity. So
Correct.
basically, rather than like, oh yes, makaya na, oh yes, like
Yeah,
this, like you just say yes to things, you would say like, hang on a minute, why are we
yeah,
doing this?
yeah,
Hang on a minute,
exactly.
what's the point of this one? What's their
Yeah.
data on that one? So it encourages conversation, and if
Mhm.
it encourages conversation, it encourages people to think outside of the box,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah, actually, you
Yeah, yeah.
already answered what I was about to ask, no? Okay, like I said, kanang mga naman may GC niya, magstorya mi about
Mm,
conflict in work and all of that. And basically, Filipinos, like what we just mentioned right now, sa mo, yes lang ka, mo, ingon lang ka, okay, bahala na na. And I was about to ask you, how did you cope this as a Filipino and being also gay and also like in your experience right now? So you just
mm-mm,
mentioned like musturya kag okay, why is it done like this? You call it professional curiosity. I think that's a
professional
very nice
curiosity.
term.
Yep.
Yeah, I will use that kay more nice kissing a term. No, so and then I was about to ask like giunsan ani mo pag-cope ba kay kita again Filipino, how, or maybe put it this way, can you answer naman ka, how
Mm.
long did you, how long have you able to hone this skill, no? Nga
Uh,
kalawa.
yeah, of course. You need to be first and foremost. You need to have like a really good command of your communication. Um,
Mhm.
um, I was doing my first masters. I have three masters in my belt, I think.
Mhm.
Um, but when I was doing my first masters, I was rejected with my dissertation because they said like my English is Americanized English and the way I write
Uh-huh.
things is very Americanized. And then I take things as a feedback. So communication
Mhm.
is a key. But then again, you need to have a command on what you're
Mhm.
doing and what you want so that you could deliver it perfectly to the
Mhm.
rest of the team. Also, rather than just taking a command, you need to have like evidence based
Yeah.
data to say like,
True.
hang
True.
on a minute. Over the past 5 years, these are the data, but these
Yeah.
are not working. What can we do
Exactly.
better? And but however, for cultural differences, is what you mentioned. I'm Napoy kuan na chance sa una before, like I always like see myself like, oh my god, mawata ni ako rin Filipino. I
Yeah,
always
that's true.
I always put it back in my mind now. I always say like, no, I'm a human being and I'm entitled here. And for
Mhm.
to be honest with you, because I was part of the diversity and inclusion subgroup here in King's College and some of the
Mhm.
organizations. I was invited in a lot of private companies to give a talk, and na ako yung mga free meals, free theater, usahay sweldoan ko nila out of a blue in kung halawi kakuyaw. But I always say to myself like, you know what, if you do not create a seat in that table of of the executives, you will be invisible. So I make sure that I could bring my own seat in that table and give space for myself.
Okay. Okay. That being said, no, I mean, I know in terms of workspace, we always try to achieve that. By the way,
Mm.
before ko mo continue, shout out Miral, welcome.
Thank you.
So just to continue my like question is like I'm really curious right now by like giunsa nimo no. Okay, again I'm talking about you being a Filipino. How
Mm.
does it like I kind of wanted to put, or maybe you explain us or walk us through how you and your family nga
Mm.
naabot ka sa about like in terms of sexual like related job, and you're also like gay, like how did you manage, and
Ah,
you're also a foreigner in that country, so how did you
mm.
balance these things?
Balancing what? My profession,
Profession,
balancing my personal life.
yeah, like yun sa manim, like for example, now you need to, let's say, put it this way. Why I'm asking is di ko kay imagine, no? Like you have
Yeah.
to talk about sexuality and then Pinoy ka. Ako di ko kabuhat ana in the first place, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, that kind of stuff. How did you deal with these things? And at the same time, like imong mga kaila nga mga Pinoy, unsaon man nimo nga makakope, makastorya kanila, like it for sure there's a period there. And that's what I'm asking, like how did you handle this period of like you being comfortable where or what you want and where you are, because in the first place you wanted this, right? You really wanted
Yeah.
that kind of a job. So
Yep.
how did you deal with it?
Actually, it's just a first and foremost, there was no hindrance for me.
Okay.
I'm so secure about on my sexuality, and
Mm-hmm.
I've leaned on my identity and my
Mm-hmm.
sexuality as part of my lived experience to promote my profession, if you know what I
Ah,
mean.
okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm,
there was no I don't have any shame, I don't have any stigma about myself, about my
mm-hmm.
sexuality, about my life and everything like that. And if people want to talk about sex, I could talk about sex 24 hours. I could talk about sexual pleasure 24 hours. I could talk
Yeah.
about I've seen penises, I've seen vagina more than
Yeah.
500 times in my life. But these are the things that I could say, like, okay, we can talk about this, but then again, we could also talk about your relationship. But I could also talk about like why specific minorities like the black people, the Asian communities are lacking services in the community,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically, I'm using my lived experience as a Filipino gay guy who's an immigrant to
Mm-hmm.
promote sexual health and sexual well-being in a public health sector.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's actually good. You were
Okay.
asking, Neil? Amiran? Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go to the topic, not the intimacy relationships. So Neil, regarding
Mm.
dead situations, what can you say about that?
Sorry, you cut
Say,
off there.
Naputol ka. Balik ka, Neil. Balik ka.
can you hear?
Yeah, putol-putol, but sige na, try.
Okay. Dead bedroom relationships. Diba? That happens to couples like as years go by. So what do you suggest
Okay.
people should do about that?
Okay.
So
So,
before Neil, sorry, before lang, so this is actually to transition to our questions relating now, because you already
mm,
mentioned that you've seen a lot and you've talked a lot about intimacy, sexuality,
mm,
parts even. So this is to transition in that part
okay.
where
I think
one
I think
question in Neil, yeah.
I think best to talk about this one right now is like um why sexual well-being matters. And a lot of people think just we're just talking
Mm-hmm.
about sexual health, but to be honest with you, sexual well-being matters because it is connected with our mental health. It is connected with our um, a nuclear unit of the family and partnership with your wife or your partner or whatever your partner is. And secondly, it also then to the wider scope of the bigger public health community, and that's where the issue is. Now, if we're talking sexual well-being is I'm just going to transition to what Neil was also saying, that sexual well-being, like the dead in the bedroom, it always comes back about the lack of communication. People keep on bashing about communication, but what is that, right? So um so for me, I was really interested and curious because as I mentioned a while ago, I'm very interested with human behavior from the very beginning, because human behavior always surprises you, because there's a lot of interlayers of mixed cultural, mixed generational, and partnerships. And also, what we mean about mixed generational partnership is like your concept of kind of like upbringing as a person might be different from your wife's upbringing. So these are the kind of like things that we're like looking to. And of course, us as an immigrant, um, we are trying to blend in. To say a better word, blend into the society where we are right now. Like, say, for example, if you're in Singapore or here in the UK or wherever we are in the world, right? So, most of the time, intimacy now transition to what Nia was saying. Intimacy becomes like a big problem because for long-term relationships, I think this is what Nia was asking, is that people become like roommates. Like rather than like there was already this people don't know how to communicate their physical needs. People don't know how to start intimacy. People don't schedule different kinds of sexual pleasure and sexual arousals. And most importantly, a lot of the times, people don't know what is sexual intimacy. This is the problem. Because in sexual intimacy, the problem about that is like coming or like, like, of course, for lack of the better word, coming is not the end goal here. It's not. It is that special connection. So if we look into what is sexual arousal is basically being aroused to something um, with everything, right? That's your mentality, that's the smell, that's the taste, that's the touch, that's everything around it. So the moment that you're cuddling or you're just in bed and just having that kind of like sexual like that skin to skin bond, that's already sexual intimacy. But then again, a lot of people think like, oh my god, this is failure because we never penetrate. This is the problem. We get our information and we get a lot of our um, sex ed and sexual education from porn that you need to be bam wham shabam. That's it. You need to just penetrate. But then again, sexual intimacy with long-term relationship needs to have a layer of companionship, a layer of understanding, a layer of communication, a layer of saying like, oh, I feel bad today, but I want you to be by my side. Can we just cuddle? That is in essence is sexual intimacy.
So basically,
I see.
in terms of, I mean, I'm na-shock lang ko when you say the coming is not the end goal.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Mhm. I mean, how do you explain that? Kung mubalik lang ko si Magisulta because
Yeah,
that's something new to me. How do you explain that to your clients, by the way? In the first
because
place. Like first
because
place, they
bec- because that causes anxiety. Firstly,
ah,
end
okay.
of people say like, oh my god, I need to make sure like for and also we need to look onto the how to put this, the physiological issues that what we
Mhm.
are experiencing as men and women. For men, by the age of 30 your testosterone drops significantly. For women, the estrogen level and testosterone level drops significantly. That's the reason why during the menopausal stage, by 40 to 40 onwards, if your female partners 40, some female have like microdosing of testosterone just to make sure that the libido is up. So basically, if we that's the physiological issues that we're looking at, right? So basically, if we're thinking that the more that we are in a long-term relationship, maybe like 5 years, 10 years, or more than that, and then your end goal is only to penetrate and come, we are not educating ourselves
Mhm.
because we are still in that teenage um, mentality that I need to penetrate my wife and come, and that's sex, and that
Mhm.
is wrong.
Mhm.
And that's
Just
why like
grabe.
people have like this mistake. Oh, she's not happy now. How can I start this conversation? How can I? Because we are getting ourselves worked up. We're getting
Mhm.
ourselves stressed and anxious
Mhm.
just because of the performative notion of sex.
So maybe
Mic drop.
in terms walang
I
in
can't hear
terms of
you,
let's say
Chan.
for di kadungon ka na ko dili. Can this one? Can you hear me?
You got mute.
This one makadungog mo na ko.
I
Kadungog mo
can't
na ko
hear
Neil.
anyone.
Hello, Neil. Can you hear me?
Neil, kadungog ko nimo Neil. Kadungog ka na ko. Can you hear me?
Hello.
This one. Kadungog ka na ko Neil.
Hi. No. Hello.
Di mo kadungog na ko. Hold on. Hold on, ha.
Hello,
This one.
Neil. Can you hear me?
Kadungog mo na ko. Can you hear me? Sorry, technical problem.
Di ko kadong ni mo chan.
How come? Huh? Wait, hold on. How about this one? Hello, mic test. Get work na ako nil. Hold on.
Wait for a while.
Oh, sorry, I cannot. Do you want me to log in and out?
No, I can hear you. I can hear.
I
Can
think
you hear?
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay, sure. Miral, kadungog ka na ako. Kadungog mo na ako. Hello, mic test. Neil. Sorry, technical issue. Hold on. Technical issue. Hello. Sorry, sir, na technical issue. Like, kadungog ka na ako.
Okay na. I can. Kadong na ko nimo.
Gani, wala man ko nausap.
Every kato last time, but it was the same thing ba nga murag I can't.
Wala ko nausap. Kaya lang. Okay.
Hello. I don't know what happened there.
There.
But can you hear me now? Can you?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I
Okay.
actually have no idea what happened. Wait, this one, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then good. Sorry na naputol. So, in any case,
Yeah, I was
I
so
mean-
passionate about discussing about that. But yes, as I said, it's going back to that one. People are so worked up and anxious because of that performative things. And I don't blame a lot of long-term relationship couples, right? And also most especially with men, heterosexual men, that they need to have this performance, meaning kailangan they needs to have an erection, kailangan na coming, kailangan in ani, because they've already set it up in their brain that this is the narrative, and this is the reason why we need to educate and change that kind of like narrative.
Yeah. In terms of educating, so there was this comment, no, so what there is a can kill come. Sexual arousal is physically for men and mentally for women. Is that true or is
Yeah,
that
that's so true.
misconception? Okay.
That is so true. So the moment that because we need to go back to physiology again and differences of our hormones, right? And also if we have to go back again to the very that's why like human behaviors is so interesting for me because every time every generation and it changes, but we're so deeply rooted in who we are as a human being from the hunter gatherer era till now. But having said that, um, the moment that we a lot of us for men are just there to plant seed, quote unquote, right? This is what for survival instinct. But our generation right now, and also our kind of like current lifestyle, it's not like that. We're going away from that. Women are now working. Women have their own lives. Women are independent. Women have their own professional title of who they are. They have their. They're not just like a what it used to be. So basically, for women, it needs to have like a lot of deeper level of like social like psychological safety is so important. We need to address that. And secondly, we need to make sure that they're also like mentally aroused, because physiologically, kung wala, if there's no mentally arousal from female, it's so dry down there. So the dryness makes sex painful. And men don't understand this.
So
right?
basically,
You get
just so
I can't hear you again. My God.
you can you hear me? No.
What happened?
Hello. How about
Yeah.
You know what? Can I just
Yeah.
change to laptop?
No, we can
Give me
we
2
can hear you.
seconds. I'm
Okay,
gonna
sure.
yeah.
Sure.
I think it's best.
Yeah, sure. Kadungog ka na ko, Nil?
Kadong ko nimo. Kadong ka na ko.
Okay. Yeah, kadungog.
Here's
Murag
something.
na putol na siguro to, yeah. But na mo to na, so by the way, katong atong mga viewers, kinsay ganahan mo ask questions, please ask like question. Kaya mo na i-post sad and then because interesting kay topic no. And for us, especially kita mga Pinoy, even for me, even for some Filipinos nga nasa abroad, some of the things is though it's not taboo compared nga na juga sa Pinas, but it is something that is not fully explained. Though we know that it's there, but it's not fully explained. So it's our chance right now. There's someone professional who's been doing this for a very long time. So ask mo sa inyong question. So that among ma-relay sad ni Neil, no? Ni Neil Christian.
You can join
Okay.
the
Yeah.
podcast if you want to, guys. You can share ideas. You can join the stream with us.
Yeah, exactly. Just message us and then we can let you come in. You can ask. You can also like for example, you don't need to show your face. That's also fine. But if you have some questions, do ask that because it's very. You might get the answer that what you're looking for. You might not get the answer that what you are expecting, but you get a more clearer picture at the same time. Amo na no, so mag-wait lang ta ni Christian and then asam to si Buds, the new J.
Yeah, here's a comment from Ken Kilcam. No, it doesn't matter what year it becomes. Doesn't matter where we're in spaceships. We'll never accept nature.
Na actually na ako'y pangutana ni kuan ba na ako'y mga juicy nga mga question no. Yeah, something na mo mga interesting kayo nga
Actually,
question
ako mga viewers,
pangutana
daghan kayo na questions, maikog lang kay in English, sama na ako, maikog.
Well, no, by the way, Bisaya na si kuan na makasabot na si sa pangalan si Neil og Bisaya kay Pinoy taga Cebu or sadya ni. Hi, bye. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay.
You can hear
Hello?
me, yeah? Sorry.
Maybe
Hello?
sa kuan.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe sa kuan to nimo
Hello?
earbuds.
Yeah, maybe
Earbuds.
it's the AirPods. Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced that some also sa earbuds.
So
Anyway.
we've come to a very how to call this really interesting topics. Like I'm very passionate about this. As you can tell, like my voice and why I
Muzone out ka ba? Muzone out. Muzone out
it's
ka.
I think it's my camera.
No, I mean when you talk about it, like zone out ka, like you're into it and then you're talking. But anyway,
Sorry.
no, it's just okay. That's actually amazing. But now a question regarding that. So basically, you said nga, para mo wet siya. No, let's say para mo wet ang babae. You're saying that you have to talk dirty para mo wet na siya. Or how do you maybe tips? Maybe tips para
so, okay, that's a very interesting that's a very interesting thing. Have you read about the book from Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel? Esther Perel right now is one of the top relationship therapists and coach and basically like if you could listen to her podcast is really really amazing. Play is important. So it's not about talking dirty, right? It's about that playfulness, about that like. So it depends on what kind of level of relationship that you have, and that's why no relationship coach or relationship therapist could tell you what's the formula because every relationship are different. Yeah, ayaw pangutanan nako, ayaw pangutanan ni Neil, nilang bisag kinsa nga giunsam na ninyo because everything is different. It's just like how relationship works. So going back to what you said, do you need to play? Do you need to say it in a dirty way? Maybe dili niya acceptable, diba? Sa yang value sa imong asawa di niya in line. So you need to make sure what makes her, that's why communication is so important, what makes her excited. So, oh, by the way, do you think that after our date, before our date, after our date night or before our date night, can we have some jiggy jiggy? Jiggy jiggy is like a term nga unsay tawag na kanang funny or playful. Moingon din imong asawa or imong partner lang, huy, kabastos nimo eh. So you need to challenge that. So how can we make sure nga we could do this all the time? Should I
Mhm.
make sure nga itap nimo, or nasay ko'y nabasahan nga how to spice things up in a long-term relationship before your dinner out or your movie out, because after sa movie, after sa dinner, kapoy naman mo. 'Di ba? 40,
Yeah,
40,
yeah.
40 na biyata. And guapa gapon.
Yeah.
Then so you need to make sure you need to arrange that during before you go out, right?
Mhm.
Humot pa,
Yeah.
bago pangigo, kuan. So during your dinner and movie night, you're all that sexual how to call this, that social sexual connection is already done. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it really depends on how you want to communicate with this partner. Also, there's no harm in scheduling sex. Say, for example,
Mhm.
or, and, what's your partner's name, Chan? Let's just say, for example,
Si Ara.
say
Ara.
Ara. So you could say
Yeah.
Ara. Um, um, so the way we communicate with women is not like, oh, kanang nautgan jud ko ka, dili inana siya ha, nautgan kay karon
Uh-huh.
kailangan kuan
Okay.
ta. So dili siya inana. So we need to make sure na, you know what, I really miss us. I really miss you, and I really
Uh-huh.
miss connecting with you physically.
Mhm.
So the way tamo communicate is the way makasabot ang ubang tao.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
moingon ka nga, oh, what do you mean nga, I really miss us? Yeah, we hang out, we go
Mhm.
out for dinner, magbakasyon ta, but I really
Mhm.
miss the moment nga we're physically together. So that is the
Okay.
connotation nga, okay, I understand where you're coming from. So we
Mhm.
could also say like, you know what? What about we could schedule it um, every Sunday evening before Monday,
Mhm.
when the kids are asleep or anything like that. So you kind of know that you're preparing for that, even though it does not lead to penetration, and it does not lead to coming.
Yeah.
There is a physical bond that you need. Both of you just need to say, "Come here, let's just be in bed, be naked together." That is already a
Mhm.
first step to intimacy.
Oh, really? So, talking about this, no, okay, I'm just curious without naming anything or if it's allowed, no.
Yeah.
Is there like site, or I do not know if site is correct term, like naka example, maybe the craziest like talk, like because we're talking about unsa ang pagpawet sa, like you're
Okay.
saying
Yeah, go for it.
just talking unsa
This
may
is this is
pinaka
a safe space.
interesting. Yeah.
I've worked with this for the longest time ever. No
Unsa
issues.
may pinaka weird or something really unusual, because you've seen a lot or you've heard a lot. Unsa may parang mo like very unusual to make the other person like have or like get wet
So
before they go on
you
some.
need to communicate with them. You need to ask them
Mm-hmm.
what they want. Say for example,
Okay.
you um dili lisod ni siya sa atong society. That's the reason why I could hear from you
Mm-hmm.
and I could understand from you the kind of shame. I could
Mm-hmm.
really I could really
Yeah.
even you're in the screen, it's something taboo, and there's a
Yeah.
layer of shame that we're not able to talk to. So talk to your partner about that. Like, firstly,
Mm-hmm.
I always ask to patients or to partners, say, do you watch porn together?
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, do you watch do you on top of that one as well, whilst watching porn, do you pleasure together?
Mm-hmm.
And also, because kani manggod, most especially in Filipino societies and communities, we always aspire for a virgin bride. That firstly, right? We're always saying like, ang kailangan ng babae jud kay dili jud wala jud na tarugan, wa jud na kanang virgin bride jud kanang, pero ikaw nga lalaki daghan na kay kag experience. So you expect your wife to be a virgin, then within 24 hours they become a slut. Mind blown, right? They need to
Yeah, yeah,
perform the
that's
best.
true.
Yeah, they need to perform the best as they can without any experience at all. Mind blown, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that what makes them good. So communicate. Once you're touching them down there, you say like, oh, do you
Mm-hmm.
like this? Do you, where's this pleasure? Does when you're doing some fingering, do you know that your nails are clipped because you don't want to scratch anything down there? Does this
Okay.
motion does this motion good? You really have to communicate that one. Does when your partner is in 35 and above, you need to make sure that do we need to make sure that what kind of lube is working? So
Mhm.
these are the kind of communication you need. And sometimes it's so hard to communicate that because na may uwaw, na may shame, na may,
Mhm.
uy,
Mhm.
kapastos ni mo, eh. So, imuhang ng wife, nag-block na ni mo. But if you need
Mhm.
to challenge that, no, di na siya bastos, gang, di na siya kuan. I just want to make sure that I could give you the amount of physical pleasure that I want to give to you because
Mhm.
this is not something for me. I want to give this to you. It's a gift.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. I think communication is really key in every relationship. Whatever you want, whatever they want, you both you both need to compromise on that. Yeah.
Ikaw na Miguel, kay question kay before ko mo ask.
Regarding the, diba, you said earlier, Neil, na as you age, libido drops for, I guess, for both men and women, right? Now, since most all of us here are men in here, so what are your tips for men over 30, 35, in order for them to maintain their testosterone levels?
I would suggest to check your testosterone level first. Have a panel. What's your free testosterone level? Is so important. And basically, um, you need to make sure that erectile dysfunction as well is a thing. So that's why it's part of sexual well-being, sexual wellness. You need to make sure that like if you think that how to call this, if you think that you're not in the mood, maybe your cholesterol levels are also high. Your HB1C, which is like the indicators of diabetes, is also in there. If your parents have diabetes, you need to check that very correctly. So high blood pressure and diabetes lowers down your erection. So it does create how to call this that kind of issues, right? So it's not only in the mind, but it's also physiologically that all men need to check, and also exercise. My God, lift heavy 3 times per week. Make sure that because the more that you exercise, the more that your circulation in the body is really good, and the more that you have like stronger erection in the morning. If you have stronger erection in the morning, it means that you're healthy.
Safe na ka bay? Safe na ka Miguel? Safe na ka?
One, but 3 times, siguro 3 times.
So that since the convention kani Paulita is that means if na kay let's say erection in the morning, that means that's normal. That's
Yeah,
like you're
absolutely.
you're you're how do I say sexually ready, for example.
No, that's not sexually ready, but it just means that you're physically healthy.
Yeah,
Sexually
Okay.
ready
That's
in
good.
terms of sex involves
Mhm.
how to call this, your mindset and also yourself. But
Ah,
if you're having a regular erection in the morning, it means that you're just physiologically healthy.
yeah. Why
okay.
does that happen? I mean, why do we get an erection in the morning?
Um, there is this. I cannot. I forgot this study about this actually, but it is part of our circulation. It's part of the circulation that we have, and that's the reason why that indicates health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Safe na ka bay? Safe na? Safe na Miguel? Bads ikaw, safe na mo?
So, but that's also the thing that you need to discuss with your partner, right? Like
Mhm.
if you are more energized and have more stronger erection in the morning, then a morning sex is preferable. So you have to discuss this with your partner. Communication. Say
Mhm.
like, hey, by the way, I've recognized that I'm always having an erection in the morning. Is it possible, like like one of these days we could do some play is like, oh, we're just gonna touch, or I'm just gonna masturbate
Mhm.
whilst you're beside me, stuff like that, then that's something that you need to discuss. Again,
Mhm.
if she's
Mhm.
not consenting with it, then by all means, okay, you don't consent. I'm just gonna jerk off besides you. No shame with all.
Is it since you talked about like that, no? So I kind of want to
Am
go
I too
also.
straightforward, Chan?
No, no, that's fine. That's fine. So, by the way, ay, nakamute ka if you want to say something. So, muna si Miss Eileen. Siya ni
Hi.
among kuan. Siya ni among manager.
Oh,
So,
hi.
question. Ay, nakamute ka eh.
Yes, now my question.
Go for it.
Okay.
Okay, Cam. So okay, I was listening a while ago. So before intimacy can grow, communication has to feel safe. My
Yep,
question
absolutely.
is, how can someone express needs without sounding demanding or needy?
Ah,
I
okay.
mean,
So,
yeah, because some women about
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
very, very difficult to express. So how can we express without sounding demanding and needy?
Okay, let's go back to that one again, to the roles of um and also cultural differences. Yeah. So what we need, what we always put our women, most especially Asian women, significantly, for in this instance, um, how to call this, like Filipino, they're always labeled as needy, even though they're just putting themselves in the state of like, I just want to communicate my needs. The moment that a woman communicate their needs, or really are very straightforward what they want, then they're demanding. But that's the cultural notion, firstly. So we need to get away from that cultural notion. So probably a little bit of coaching needs to be discussed and done over that. And probably what most especially if you're living in the Philippines, and for our Filipino viewers here, it's always like, hey, I understand, we're so busy. I understand that you're running your business. We have our kids and that thing. I also want to prioritize this. This is how I feel. So owning that feeling, owning that kind of like situations, like for say, for example, ging busy biya tang duha, no, natay duha ka anak, we um um mga padung nag high school si junior, blah 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 blah, and kapoy ka in work, napakoy mga napa wala lagi nato nalaba ang atong mga, or napilo ang atong mga laba nya gikapoy nako, pero ganahan biya ko nga natay intimate time karon. So it's that kind of like communication that you need to say. Also, you need to say to your partner like, hey, if you help me in this kinds of laundry, housework, and all of that thing, I will feel seen, and I will feel validated, and I feel like, oh my god, my partner is taking an effort towards me, then therefore I'm more emotional available and have time to be in you physically. So these are the kinds of languages that we need to use in our daily lives. A lot of us, again, before you came in here, we were talking about, we're expecting our partners to be princess, to be virgin, to be not able to break a plate immediately. Behind closed doors, they need to flip back and forth to be like everything they need to do in sex and bed. And
Mhm.
however, that was just a level of expectation. There was no communication amongst that, right? So grabe kaayo ka backwards Asian way of things. So that's why I'm very passionate about this, because eventually in the future I want to go back to the Philippines and here in the UK to educate a lot of Filipino and Asian couples on how to break that level of shame and guilt towards intimacy.
Mhm. So, okay rai. Nagtotoo na akong dugo dahil siya akong ilungoy. But that's actually a good insight.
Actually, it's really good, no? So so right now I want to know also kanang
Mm.
consent gani, because consent is often misunderstood, not just in terms of physical, right? So
I
how do you define consent in emotional and relational intimacy?
like consent is important even for married couple, first and foremost. Okay,
Mhm.
if there's no consent, that's called sexual abuse and sexual violence, even in married couple. And if a person, if it does not mean that if the wife is quiet and you penetrate the wife, it's already consent. That's not. It's like making. Let's try to simplify this consent. I always teach consent um, with my work. Consent means like when you're making a tea and drinking a tea, all of that things. You're inviting someone to your house for for tea, they say yes. Was you ask them, do you want this and that? They said yes. Do you want kind of like black tea, green tea? They said yes. Do you want it hot, cold? They said yes. If the person say no in the middle of the tea making, that's not consent already. If the person is quiet just to appease you, that's not consent already. Consent is extremely important, because then if we don't do if because a lot of our Asian and mixed cultural issues about consent. Oh, wife na gay na nako siya, or ako na siyang uyab. I can do whatever I can do. Right? That's such a wrong thing, and that's reason why once we break that kind of like consent sa babae or sa imong wife or sa imong girlfriend, they would physically cowl, and the next sex would be so painful for them. The next the vaginal fluids will not be flowing because their consent and their safety has been broken.
So bali ang consent is
My God.
maka-cause na siya kanang displeasures, ah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the reason why communicating good mo the whole time during sex. It's like, hey, by the way, is it okay? Do you feel good in here? Like, because kuan man good sa lalaki, like, oh, like kanang mo na akong ganahan, mo na kanang kanang ikuan jud nako ang hand, tanan, finger, tanan. Ang babae nga tunga, shit, kasakit na ani, eh. She hasn't communicated that. Or no,
I-flip lang nako ang side or
ang story.
perspective. Unsa man say mga imong mga, let's say na mga stories in terms ang babae sad mo ay nagpa-start
Absolutely.
sa
So,
yeah.
yeah, say for example, I have a case. I was handling a case yesterday where ang babae magpugos gyud sa lalaki nga magpamabdos. Yang ang lalaki di jud siya ganahan nga makaanak ang babae. Ni iya yung pugson nga sakyan jud yang lalaki. No? So that's not consent, right? Or for example, kanang yang hikap-hikapo ng lalaki in public. Lalaki na ay like, oh, don't do that to me, like kay kanang mauwata ana, that's not consent. So it always encompasses about like what is okay for both of you, right? That's consent. So for example, if ang lalaki mo ingon nga for example, there's a lot of things. I don't think that a lot of Filipinos and Asian women are sexually adventurous anyway, because we're not taught how to be sexually adventurous as a society, right? So but then again, if you'll meet an Asian woman or a Filipino woman who's extremely adventurous, then what is consent for you? What's okay for you? That's also the thing.
So meaning let's say let's say sex in public makapakuan din sa din na siya. Unsay tawagan na kanang makapagana sa din siya kanang, let's say, to be I'm talking about to be adventurous. Will that help those kind of stuff? Will it help for both of the couples to be that like experimental nga, even to the point like pwede mo sex in public or anything? That kind of adventure.
It's really up to the couple at the end of the day. So basically, if they think that having sex in the public would enhance their sexual pleasure and enhance their sexual relationship, by all means do it. But we also need to realize, like, what's the how to put this? What's the law within the land?
Yes.
Because that would be public indecency. So it really depends. So if you want to have like sex in a private beach, by all means, you could be naked for that. That just be releasing your sexual pleasure and try to challenge your stigmas around sexuality and no, not sexuality, towards sexual activity.
So, Neil, get na mo yung mga question, buds, and Eileen, because I'm gonna pivot to another branch that I really am interested, which is actually also still related to this topic. Na pa mo yung questions before I pivot to another, let's say,
Um,
topic?
for me, Neil, as we age, or activity frequency lessons, mano, as we age, do you think couples could survive even without the sexual activities, like as in
Um, Neil,
cooking?
that's I'm gonna debunk that. That's a myth.
Mhm.
So not all. So we should not be generalizing. So not all people have like lower sexual activity when we get old. It's just because us as kids, when we're trying to think that our parents are not having sex, ew, kalood anak, eh,
Yeah.
nga atong grandparents or ang parents mag-sex, di ba? Then we're gonna kanang ato na gapong ang kana siya nga narrative, kana siya nga mindset, we then take it as it is. It's not. We should not
Yep.
generalize that one because a lot of people might have like high libido, a lot of people might have low libido.
Yep.
It's really depending on who they are and what they like. And if sex is pleasurable for them, then by all means let them
Mhm.
take it. However, of course, always going back to our first discussion, we need to make sure that our how to overcome that and spice things up. That's your question, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
So you need
could
to.
survive,
Sorry.
could a relationship survive without sex? Is it?
Relation. So relationship. It's not just sex. So there's a wheel, in a wheel in a relationship. So part of that wheel or pie, um, is sexual pleasure. What if? Let's put it this way. What if in the middle of your 5-year relationship or 10-year relationship, your partner had an accident? um,
Mhm.
um, drop down, delete na mo work ang penis. Will you still stay with this person? Yes, of course.
Mhm.
There's this kind of commitment, this kind of like um, relationship that you want to put in this one. And you could also, and this is also what we notion that we need to break the stigma from. How about those people with this disability? Can they have sex? Yes, they can. They could use toys, they could use pleasure, they could use touch, they could use their tongue, they could use their ears, they could use anything to pleasure them. Going back to what I said, it's not about the penetration that um,
Yeah.
is sex. It's all about the encompassing things of sex,
Mhm.
the touch, the kiss, the tongue, everything about that.
Mm-hmm. So, in relation to this, no, because we're talking about like you already went back to the intimacy that you first mentioned sa mong explain ganina. Um, wondering in a negative side,
Mm.
what would be the, let's say, what would be one of the reasons or most common reason nga magbuwag man ang, let's say, couple?
Okay. Interesting. The one of the reason nga mga buwag ang mga and it's not on the year nga nagbuwag na sila. Usually it takes about 3 to 5 years
Mm-hmm.
before the buwag.
Prior, okay,
Prior,
okay,
prior. So this is the very topic that I'm very interested about. It's because the buildup of resentment. Yeah.
resentment, okay.
Yeah, so mao gyud na siya. The feeling nga dili na siya na validated, na feeling nga wa siya he's not seen, she's not seen, and yung feeling nga nga mo na siyang emotional intimacy or emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, wagtang. So the moment nga apathy or lack of emotions maabot na sa the year of buwag because
Mm-hmm.
ni-pile up naman siya over the years. So say for example, I know in the Philippines there's no divorce, but people still like break up and stuff like that. Or for example, in long-term relationship who are not married couple, um, mag, ma, nagkuha na ang mga babae or ang lalaki or ang partner nga "Ish, nga wa man ko gi kanang nakit-an ani, I'm not feeling
Mm-hmm.
seen, I'm not feeling valued." For example, your soft skills, like say like you're the one who's making sure nga ang fridge puno, ang balay limpyo, ang mga sanina kay napilo tanan-tanan na, pero imong partner wa na jud ka kita anak because iyahang terms of love language is big style, like big vacation, big parties, and all of that thing. But sa iyaha, kaning minimal day-to-day living, it's not appreciated, right? So she feel or he feel unseen, and no matter how you try to appease that person, dili wala siya na validated. So mo na siya ang cause, because when the resentment builds, people drift apart. Yeah, and also in every 5 years, people change. We always need to remember this, that the person that you met 5 years ago is not the same person, even though this is your long-term partner. And that's why emotional curiosity is so important. Learn about what makes them spark, what's their next kind of things that makes them happy, what are the things that makes them feel valued, right? And we stop communicating because naminyo naman good, na may
Yeah.
sing-sing, kanang tanan, ana, and then it just drifts apart.
So let's say kanang ingana no, how I want to know, like, unsaon man na nimong as a couple, or maybe in general. I do not know if pwede na sa
You broke,
general.
you broke up.
Sorry, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. What did you say?
Okay, so
Yeah.
in terms of, let's say, couple, like moingon man kag 5 years, how do you navigate nga in terms of unsaon yung pagkita as a couple? Let's say akong asawa, or si Bad ug iyang asawa, like unsaon nila pagkita, unsa may mga cues nga imong bantayan to find or to know that, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
Or is it too much, or is it also too, I'd say, how do I say, overreacting kung imo na nang yunahuna without even it happening yet? Or
So no, the problem. So me and my partner, we've been together for 9 years. So weekly check-ins are very important. Yeah, and that's why we need to know, like, oh, where we are right now, what you're thinking, blah blah blah. We always go for a walk. We always think. We always say things. And the moment na gani nga kanaging imong asawa, most especially, I'm just gonna go back to. I'm not surrounded with a lot of Filipinos. I don't hang out with a lot of Filipinos here in the UK because I have different friends from different nationalities. But I'm just going back to what I know and my experience back in the Philippines. Kanaging if the babae or ang lalaki murag kanang sige na lang silang ilang phone, they don't even try to make an effort. I heard Eileen was talking about, like, on your previous podcast, about like what is effort? Is it a green flag or a red flag? And I was
yeah.
listening to that, and then very interesting. Both all three of you have a different
Point of view.
on that one. But effort is so sexy. I have to tell you that. Effort is the way of thoughtfulness. Mo na siya, dili lang jud nga physical effort. It's about, like, say for example, when you wake up, you know your wife's coffee immediately. You know nga kanang ganahan siya nga ika human ninyo kaon, apilan kanang mo you could clean up together, so you could watch Netflix together. So these are minimal efforts nga kailangan nato. So if dili na siya seen gani ang atong asawa, dili siya ma-validated because mawagtangan tag effort, they would be quiet. And the moment na ang imong mga asawa, ang imong partner quiet, and they just want to be in their own world, the moment you need to check in.
Okay. So basically, muna na sa mga cues na mahibong gani ka. Nga kung,
Yeah.
uy, nga nung hilom naman kay ni siya. So,
Yeah,
namoy
yeah,
mga, Eileen and Neil or Nico J, namoy mga experiences ka na mga ngana, or?
I think lang evolves over time. Like before, kanang pag-uyab-uyab pang effort is more on like writing letters, writing poems, giving like small stuff, sweet stuff. But over time, I think effort becomes like doing the groceries, diba? Like taking care of the kids. Nya kana murag ang siguro ang partner pud nimo tan-on nila normal naman yung ibuhat, pero that's actually going out of your zone, magud kay you're not doing that normally, like you have work and all, and then you extend that responsibility sa ba. So for me mo involve sa ng effort, and then dapat ang both parties pod maka-recognize bitaw nga everyone is doing an extra mile for the household.
Oh, Nico J. Anak kay isulti Nico J unsa man to?
Kasi sa mga previous natong topic, no? Kato naman si mga ginagmay nga butang, at least ma-appreciate lang.
Yeah. That also basically that also basically nagkuan ni like mura sa tog ni connect sa kanang again gisulti ni Neil ba ni Christian nga kana ang small things, the regular things unsay naganahan sa partner. So that's actually a good thought. And then to be honest, unsam talking about about kanang buwag and everything, what is, let's say moingon kag murag nakalimtan or something like nag-resent, what's always most common, let's say ganaan ko makabaw, like unsa may common, like because kaning little things, or is it also like something sexual or financial, or unsa may like common thing, or is there none?
Of a lot of things.
Okay.
The correct answer in that one. It's not just like one thing, but of course for female it's more of like they're not seen, validated, and all of that things. And basically this is also for men. If they're not seen, validated, and all of that things, they feel littled. Or for example, there's this Filipino terms like we always use, most especially when we're arguing. Inananajud kay ka. Kanaking you try to immediately put this person like. And then, of course, the more our familiarity with each other sa imong partner, uy, kabaho ni mo, kanang manginana gani, or kanang katambok na ni mo, it hurts us. It hurts our ego, right? Rather than like, hey, I do understand like you're getting weight. Can we work on this one? But grabe kay ta ka dismissive gani nga Filipino. Grabe kay ta mo shame sa tong partner. Grabe kay ta mo nga mubutang day kanang should and woulds. And that causes a lot of accumulative hurts and traumas, even though we say trauma is only physical, but it's also psychological and emotional. So the more nga mo accumulate nga siya nga different kinds of things, even financial, causes the person to seek other intimacy from other people. Yeah.
Since you mentioned man kag kanang should have, would have, kanang may nga conversation, so unsa may proper way to talk about it, ana ba? Like unsa mo nimo pag, let's say for example ko anak mo gyud ka nganong kanang nga mga storya na among ginausahay, what's the proper way to say it?
So curiosity is always very important. For curiosity. So for example, gang, I just want to ask and understand from my point of view, what's the cause? Ngano inaani di Anisha? Okay, I understand nga anxious day ka tungod din ana, or gang, na matikdan ako nga you're like this, like that. What can we talk about this? Okay, that's from your childhood. Okay, that's from your previous girlfriend. Okay, that's from your previous boyfriend. The moment that we say like in anajid ka, so you block the person from explaining himself and block yourself from having that empathy.
Is there such thing as like overdoing it? Kung ingana, is there such thing like overdo na ninyo? Like for example, right? Like okay, gang, you're always talking or asking it in terms of a question for curiosity. But is there a limit that you can consider it as overdoing?
I don't think so, because we always human tend to forget.
Okay. Okay.
Mostly men.
What if kanang imong how do you deal with a partner na kanang bitan mo anak ano nga babe kanang mag-exercise sa ta babe mo na din nga usa tambok nako. So,
yeah.
there
uh,
defensiveness? So
deal with
is there a defensiveness, right? And basically,
yeah.
this is also caused by society that women should not exercise because women should have like mo gain of muscle. So that's there's a lot of things in that one. But in Western society, both men and women exercise.
So I
You know,
said,
in Western, it's acceptable that for example, my best friend here, German, she could just run for 20 kilometers, and her partner is Colombian. They always go um, for big competitions with like high rocks and stuff like that. And me and my
mm-hmm,
partner always go to the gym regularly. So
mm-hmm,
so it's all about changing that mindset. So going back to what you said, unsa man tambok na day ko? I'm like, no, I just want us to for quality time together. So you need to change that kind of like mindset. Oh, by the way, I like us to so that we can be more intimate and we can be more attractive to each other. Let's
mm-hmm,
exercise because I also feel so. Imo siyang i-O'Neil, dili nga siya. So I also feel nga kailangan sad ko mo exercise because I feel I want to be sexy for you. So
uh,
mm-hmm,
ana i-own jud siya nimo.
mm-hmm.
project stuff, but yeah.
Na project ayan, nanay project si Meme. Ano na kay project man. So good thing that kaning among question. So there's a I guess I'm in my understanding na any comment there, you know, na si Kenkil, na following the Western mindset, I do not know which mindset though, will lead to the destruction of your society. Research all the Western societies, they all collapse in real time. I don't
It's
know.
it,
I did.
yeah, it really depends. How to put this? I would like to read that kind of research because of course
Mhm,
that's my role, that's my job. I always look into research, but there's also no proper way. Okay, we
mhm,
always need to go back to that one because there's multicultural differences and multi-general differences, and of course, we need to realize as well that like what the individualistic um, patterns of Western society might not work with the Asian
mhm,
community standard of
mhm,
Asian community. So we need to be very mindful that we should not be like, oh, let's just be all Western. No, you can't
mhm.
because you live in a society that is dictated by Asian guidelines and Asian
Yeah.
rules, right? But also, it is our responsibility to challenge that kind of mindset. So this is where society can then progress and
Mhm.
your own relationship can then progress because you're going away or you're gearing away from what society dictates you, meaning
Yep.
like, oh, kailangan ang babae housewife for good. Where's that coming from,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
That's true. So talking about kaning mga nganing mga mindsets, no. So nag-talk ta about right now mostly men and women. So how and then we're talking about like resentment and everything. I've heard also there are, let's say, husbands, and this is for me. I just heard this from also other gay friends. There are husbands though nga actually nanasle family, but they switch, let's say, sides, and then they're actually still gay. Is that
Uh,
something they be, I do not know if they're gay already and then nakakuan sila og kanang asawa, or I how did that go, or what happened? Do you have stories that are like this?
Sexuality is a spectrum. That's
Mm,
firstly. Okay,
okay.
it is not a binary thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is by research, this is by guidance, and sometimes people with theological or like from a religious perspective, it should be binary. But
Mm-hmm.
sexuality is a spectrum. Either, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if a woman, let's not make it a man. If a woman said, like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, guwapa niya, oy, sexy lagi kay siya," does you call that woman lesbian or anything like that? And of course, a lot of the times as well, like women tends to have like more. This is also in the studies more on same-sex relationship when they turn 40 and 50 because they feel more intimate how to put this, intimate relationships or connection with another woman. So it does not mean that they're like forever lesbian. It just means that
Mm-hmm.
they have this kind of like openness and curiosity that they want to have. what your question is like, are they really gay from the very beginning?
Yeah, either
We
they're gay, either they're gay from the beginning, or like did they eventually like transition that they realize that they're gay?
So who really knows? It really depends on each individual's perspective. So I would not be the person to say like, oh, bayot yun na sila
Mm-hmm.
from the very beginning. Oh, gitago-tago ra gyud na nila from the very beginning. It really, and we always stigmatize bisexual people, and
Mm-hmm.
wala, bisexual people don't exist, but they do exist, and a lot of based on research and data, a lot of bisexual people are women. So the
Oh,
and also,
really?
yep, and based on data and research, a lot of people who would be open for an open relationship are mostly women, not men.
Mm-hmm. Really? So mas daghan day mga asawa ang mangitag babae.
Because
May
they lack
tendency mga
intimacy
ganawa.
in with their partner. They lack communication with
Okay.
their partner.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, so basically, na kay mga stories na ka-encounter ka ni ana nga mga couples. Have you encountered those kind of couples where
Oh,
naka-realize ang
oh my
asawa or
God.
ang partner or
As I
a
said,
lot of times?
I've been working in sexual health and HIV for 13 years. I've heard everything, seen everything, and I've seen again and again, I've seen different forms of penises and vaginas in what form, colors, and sizes, so I could say. So I've heard different relationship structures, relationship dilemmas, and and like that's why it enriches me as a for my role, and eventually with what I'm trying to do as a sex and relationship therapist, is because you can't put people on the same category all the same time. Each
Mhm.
couples are different, um because each person are different, because we have our own set values, set
Mhm.
agendas, and 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 expectation about what relationship should be,
Mhm. So basically, what I template, that's
what
what you're
should.
saying.
So
There's no
normally
such thing.
downfalls sa tanang tao nga,
Mhm.
because they ask for a template, or they ask for
Mhm.
what is standard, and they feel failure sila.
Mhm. That's
So
true. That's
that
true.
that apply po sa Juanil kanang, di ba, they say that size is king. So
Yes, absolutely.
and of course Asians compared to the other race.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I based on my, do you want to talk about based on my experience?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Are we
ahead.
all, yeah,
Or
based on my experience, I think I've done United Nations, so I could say.
Yay, Papa. And then see.
um, um, Based on my experience as well, me and my partner are very, very open.
Mhm.
We invite couples, we invite individuals. I have sex with another people. Immediately after having sex with another people, with another person, I said to my partner, "Oh my God, it was amazing!" Or, "Oh my God, that was so bad." Blah blah blah. So I'm very open about this. So. Um, However, going back to what you said about size is king, it's really about the how you make the person comfortable in front of you. If
Mhm.
a person you've dated, because they're so, I've dated a very, like I've had sex with a lot of like hot men, but they're so rubbish in bed because everything is catered for them already, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But if a person are not the best looking, they're not the best body, and they're not the biggest dick down there, but they are very attentive to you. The sex is amazing, and that's where partnership is. If your partner is long-term relationship is the partner is not attentive to you, because or for example, a man is their own goal is just to penetrate and come, the woman would not like it.
Mhm.
Always make sure to be very attentive, to have that eyes to eyes is so important, guys, in sex, in
Mhm.
missionary is so important. Because if you don't look your wife or your partner in the eyes and just smile and just be happy, do you like this? Oh yeah. How about this? And rather than being just into your head because you just want to push it and come, the wife would just lay there and think that they're just a piece of meat. Same as the
Mhm.
man.
So basically dapat mo ng storya-storyaan para gana.
It's a journey. It
Mhm.
is like that kind of thing. Like so going back sizes to answer Neil's question, size is not king. It's all about that kind of level of experience that you want to give and the vibe. Jet Jet.
Performance day.
Yeah. But then again, it
Per
causes
It's a performance.
performative problem.
mhm. Nico J, naka-question Nico J.
Wala, ikaw lang yung performance.
Performance day. At least may na lang buds. May na lang performance. That's a performance.
Yes na siya. Nakuha kung okay performance, right?
Unsa to buds? Unsa to balik ka daw?
Yes na ang size kung okay performance.
Duol ko sa imong kuan ba di maklaro imong tingog. Unsa to performance size?
Useless ang size.
Ah,
Okay performance.
so useless ang size kung walay performance. Tinod. Based on the explanation, dapat na ay performance. Dili lang magsalig sa size. So, I mean, just to, let's say, go back on some topics, let's say, kanang ingana bay, unsa man imuhang ma-advise karon before I go to the advice, unsa man mga daghan kay kag na istorya na mo no, and I hope na pa kay time maybe 15 minutes or nagdali ka or ganahan pa ka mo istorya. That's okay, ha?
Oh, it's like me and my partner were talking today. Like we should be doing gardening. Like it's winter and we need to do some pruning of our garden. It's a beautiful garden. We have like fish pond and all of that things, and we also need to go to the gym. So we have that kind of like things that create bond in relationships. So it means that as well. Like I'm also like these are like bids for bonds. So say for example, if your partner. So this is part of the topic. If your partner, again, magkuan ko karon kanang for example ganahan ko mo lakaw dinhi yan kuyog ta, so that's a bid for bond, so that's a bid for closeness and emotional intimacy. Ging ganahan lagi ko mag motor karon, okay ra nimo, so mapiyaan ti ka, so that's a way of like consent and communication and a bit of bond. So these are the kinds of like things that we also do as a couple.
Does that include also kanang ututanay mo kausat-usa?
Oh my God, yes.
So
Yeah, I
and
think
then
that's healthy.
yeah. I mean, let's say one would be your fun memories or stories. Kaya daghan na kay experience na. Like unsa may one of the like best experience nimo when you kanang pagkuan like counsel nimo couples. Like I don't know if you have stories like the best like imong best experience when you do counseling.
I think for me, of course, educating young people is so important, and that's and working in sexual health and working in relationship therapy. It's like you could see really like how to call this, the effect on the spot, Gani, rather than like cardiac doctors, surgeons, or anything like that, because it's a long term, or diabetic, it's a long term. But if you're talking about like sexual health and sexual well-being and relationship therapy, you could literally see in their face a little bit of reassurance, a little bit of like relief that, oh my God, I was not doing wrong. And it's life changing for them to get that piece of advice. And again, for young people, nga okay na day nga mag-anime nga ginana din na, because you were able to speak to a professional or specialist about this. So that's very rewarding.
That's nice. So and how about also, let's say if na kay especially karon kanang mga Pinoy, like you said, dili maguni siya normal sa mga Pinoy or some Asians. Unsa man imong ma-advise specifically, maybe let's say Pinoy, in terms of let's say identity, love, relationship?
Identity. It's interesting what you talk about identity because Filipinos don't usually have identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, we have to go back again to our um, social psychological identity that we have been. Firstly, Philippines is not a real country name. It's from a Spanish king. So,
Mhm.
firstly, that stripped our identity in a bigger scale. Secondly, our identity are mixed match from Spanish era with 300 years being in a convent. Then after overnight, you'll be told to be part of a Hollywood film with the Americans for 50 years, and then back again to Spanish era. So there's a lot of identity crisis for Filipinos, and that's the reason why. Um, it really, if you look into the diaspora of Philippines, of the Filipinos, and also our country, it's so mixed match. You really cannot
Mhm.
put a proper identity. So that's also one of the things. Go- Um, so that also then affects in our own sexuality because then our own sexual well-being, because if you are not fully aware and fully present about yourself and you knowing your fully identity, what you want from life, what you want from your profession, what you want from your partner, what you want from yourself, it really goes down to sex, because then you'll be quiet. Oh my God, am I doing this right? Oh my God, can I speak about this? So there's already that kind of like layers of things that we're unable to. So I think for me, as a profession, and hopefully I can do this in the future, I want to teach Filipino community and like some Asian, most especially with a lot of historical traumas from colonization, that we need to embrace who we are and find that deeper meaning of authenticity, because that's when you're authentic with yourself, then you're able to be authentic with your partner and your relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good. You could establish a clinic here in the Philippines or in Cebu, Neil. Why not?
Yeah, me and my partner are coming this March because that's our plan.
Da
Sige. Support you.
First,
Puwede.
ang first customer si Neil.
Nala.
Okay.
Nagpares biya mong duha, ah.
So I do appreciate this time, honestly. Like, it's such an interesting topic, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Did you learn
to be
something
honest.
at least, or
Yeah.
like mind blown?
No,
I'm talking
No,
actually,
too
it
much.
na-happy ko kay ni-share siya ba kay like kanang naka-understand. I think si Neil naka-understand siya sa point of view sa women because sa previous nga discussions about effort and something kay Rod, ang men man go, they're so focused on kanang ganing sa ilang self. So but women are so different. They forget nga na say needs ang women ba.
Mhm.
Ang effort niya. I was really interested katong ni Seika nga like katong mga small things nga buhaton,
Mhm.
it would really affect your sex lives because men magud kay say they're so physical, but nakalimot sila nga the emotional, the psychological, it would include kanang if you really want a better sex, like you have to start sa emotional, sa kanang mga gagmay nga things sa house.
And I think, like, to be honest with you, Eileen, I'm very happy that I'm gay. I'm also able to have different perspective of different sexuality that really made me more leaning on my. I thought being gay before is a weakness or is a liability or anything like that, but going to this kind of like profession that give me a lot of richness of different kinds of like psychology, and basically made me more compassionate and empathetic to both men and women, because I kind of understand where it lacks and where it should be addressed. And these are the for long-term relationships, it's so important to know that you feel valued and seen, and not in a big way but more in a little way. So we're always talking about, what is little way, Neil? What is that? Like, oh my God, it's so important sometimes. Like, say for example, your wife is, for if you have kids, or or kanaging nabi, for example, if you imong uyab kay gamer di ay nya kay tungod invested na kay siya sa game, nakalimot na siya panglungag, panglimpyo, pagkuan sa basura. These are little things, you know. But then again, when you stop everything just because you want your wife to be seen, then that is such a big validation.
Mhm. So, kanang lutuan nimo ang kuan, imong partner o kanang lami nga pagkaon, makapalami na sa sex.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Like, pwede
It goes
ako ba
both
ang luto, pwede ang lalaki ang luto. I mean,
Yeah,
you make
it should be
you
even,
make the
right?
other, yeah, you make the other person kanang feel special ba? Kaya di ba man na mag-start? Like, kaya sometimes kung mag kanang ilahalang self, ilang kaugalingon, like, sila lang ang center of attention, but then we're limot sila nga naa sa their needs and why.
Yeah.
So, I think kanang
They-
both parties kay they're really interested because ako I mean dili man sa ko yung traditional, but I think sa ako is like for me pleasure is like kanang for married for married couples. I mean for me we have different beliefs and values. So sa ako is like I believe that sex should be celebrated between a husband and a wife, and then I also understand pud nga not all marriages are successful, but there are other ways to kind of getting mo separate more properly so you can find someone better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. So based on experience na siya, eh. Based on experience na siya, eh.
But yeah, I think ano ba, like I'm just sharing kay mura ganyan yung view is like view ganit sa men, like I mean I'm also happy that I could share some point of
Yeah.
views to women, but I'm also open if maybe I have kanang wala ko kanang na may mga idea I wala ko kabalo, so maybe you can share kay it's also good man sad nga to hear point of views of other people.
You know what? One outstanding thing before I left in the Philippines, and I think some Filipinos still do this. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. The princess treatment of girlfriends, like ang lalaki mo kuan sa handbag, kanang mga inana gani. We kind of and then basically kailangan magselos gyud, kailangan niit na kabe, natug na kabe. Kanang mga inana nga you wonder, it's very cultural. I haven't seen that in other cultures except
No,
for
I think
Latinos, I
nasa
think.
no, I think sad kanang kanang naisay uban guys nga dili sad mo treat og women o nga kanang more princess ba kay naman sa uban like ako I was wala man kay ko naka-feel nga princess treatment ko kasi kanang to share na no. So I know I wala ko nakasulay nga carry akong bag
Yeah.
because I always carry my bag and
Yeah.
then like, yeah I think kuan siguro depende siguro sa guy, but wala ko kakuan nga ganang gi-treat gini ko.
Gi-princess
But
ka,
wala,
okay.
yeah, but wala sa nasuit sa akong mind nga ganing dili siya big deal nga dili pud ko ang hanaon because I was kay na raised mangod ko nga kanang
Independent woman.
yes, because gidormitory na gud ko sa akong parents at a very young age. So kaan ko nga kaya na ko sa akong self ba like I don't need kanang i-treat gani ko princess, but sometimes ganahan sa ka like when night times, but not everyone. So wala jud ko kasulay nga gi-carry akong bag. So mo na siya. So I think kanang naisip ba na laki nga kanang ganahan mo sila nga ana ilang pag-treat sa women, but it's also nice that kamo basin ing ana inyong treatment sa inyong
But is
mga
it maybe question lang to Maulita, no? Is it more common, let's say nag-talk man tayo ng princess, is it more common that ang guy ganahan mo princess sa partner, sa woman, or is it more common nga ang woman ganahan sa guy nga i-treat siya as princess?
oo.
I think it's how to put this. I think it's as we as we enter as well with fast dating apps and social media, traditions around the globe are changing, concepts of relationships are changing. But that's the reason why I was sharing to this, because this is what I was seeing before when I was still in the Philippines. 18 years ago, and basically this is what katong sa boys high pa mo atog Immaculada og high school
Ay,
Immaculada og
sus,
STP,
naagid tayo mga ingana
diba?
nga classmate.
Diba? Nanda ka na, mo for me that was before. That's the reason why I'm just like rooting in that one, because that is still within our generation. Nga mukuha mukuha tapos ang lalaki like no ako na lang kuan sa mong bag niya kanang inana ba niya mag-uwaw-uwaw
Shout
sa
out
lot of things.
by the way, shout out no Christian Ray. Ingat na ta siya pag high school. Kinumdum ka ni Bob Stone ay mo na siya pag high school. Ato siya sa STC. Sige pa dayon.
Di magdala siyang bag.
But how to call this? So this is what I was expecting, like before. But again, because of changes now in like society, expectations are different. Women are now are expected to do differently. So there's a lot of changes, and it's always good to challenge different norms, because that's how we kind of like. The most important thing for me is like because high school wala man tay emotional intelligence ana. The most important thing now is like once we get onto our 30s is like, and towards our 40s, is like establishing that emotional intelligence good. That's just for me as a therapist and sexual well-being specialist, is that anyone can do anyone what they want, as long as there's emotional intelligence embedded in their relationships.
Another question. So when you're talking about emotional intelligence, so when man kita dapat mag-learn ana, or what age na dapat, like at what age na nato i-introduce ba? So kung naatay mga kan, at what age na siya i-introduce?
Usually emotional intelligence needs to be done at age 8 to 13. So that's where you as a parent would say like, oh, don't let anyone just kiss you because they find you cute from a stranger. That's already boundaries and consent, right? You go to a family party, tanan auntie o tanan uncle ganahan gid mo kiss nimo kay tapos or mo kon katambok na nimo like something like that, or nga cute nga bata, di ba? So you're not teaching the child as emotional boundaries or time because of culture. We can't escape that. So this is this is so important as early as like 13. How can we say no to people? That's also the foundation of emotional boundaries and emotional intelligence. How can we say yes to things that we are really happy to say yes? And how can we prevent peer pressure? How can we make sure that we're not doing it because your classmates are doing it? So these are the kind of conversation we need to establish since 8 to 13 years old. And then when the child started to develop relationship intimacy, like say for example mag-uyab-uyab na imong mga anak or imong niece and nephew, then you need to say like, okay, what are you able to say no kung di na siya ganahan? Are you able to say yes kung kuan ngano maghilak-hilak man? So, and also teaching them empathy is so important. Like say for example okay, let's sit down, look in the eyes, rather than like for example mama manggut or imong mga imong mama amahan or imong auntie and tia mugtan-aw sa mga anak, they stand up and they just look at you. So you go down level to their level, to their okay, what's ngano sakit man siya, gibuwagan lagi ko okay, let's talk about this. So imo siyang gi-establish na ang emotional intelligence at that early age. The moment that we start doing that to our kids, nephews and niece, anything like that, then it makes them feel like I'm valued, I'm seen, and my emotions are valid.
Okay. Nico J, so ilagay question. Idol-dol lang imong story aja sa mic. Yeah, kadungog ra mo siguro ko. Sige daw.
Okay, sige. Hello? Nara? Madunggan ka. Kala ko question, when can you say na normal siya ang inyong activity? Like, example, like, mag-check mo tapos inyong i-film, is it normal pa or mag-masturbate ka sa inyong partner na siya gatanaw lang? Is it normal? When can you say that one?
Nice. Sige.
So can I answer that?
Yep, yep.
Is that filming, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah,
So
filming or masturbating to your
so
partner count daw.
you're going into the realms of kinks.
Kinks.
Yeah,
Ayay ka.
kinks. So that's a different topic that it's a lot of
Mhm.
things to unpack. And basically, these are the things that you need to understand. Like we have like our own different kinks. Maybe there's no source of that one. There's no
Mhm.
physiological or psychological reason why we have our own different kinks. And some kinks are because of trauma. Some kinks are because of um, just like your first sexual experience or your first sexual encounter or debut. Okay, so
Mhm.
it really depends, and also kinks such as filming yourself or masturbating, anything like that, enhances or takes out the sexual pleasure within the relationship. So it's so important to communicate this with your partner. if if you do not feel if your partner say like, no, I don't want to have like that 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 videoing of me
Mhm.
because nga naman mawagtang naman ang inyong sexual intimacy because ang
Mhm.
partner focus naman sa video rather
Sabi.
than you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we need to make sure that what is good on that.
Mhm. So dapat magkasinabot mo sa inyong kakinki, inyong kinks.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
of course. You need to look into this context, right? Um, um, for example, with what is disgust? Disgust is different,
Mhm.
and disgust is
Mhm.
also part in sexual intimacy. Disgust is like, say, for example, if mag talk ta og laway, laway disgusting ng laway, but imong tuang laway sa penis or sa vagina, oh, that's kind of like good. So
Kinky.
it's always so important, or ang baho. For
Yeah.
example, like, oh, like is the smell down there is disgusting or is it pleasurable? So there's really the kind of like things that we need to put our mind into different kinds of like bodily contact and bodily pressure, and that includes visual pleasure.
Mhm. Kaya ka na kabads? Sus, hilig na ka kinky day? Kinky mo na
Hindi
kabads?
kay, I mean, basing normal pala ninyo duha, pero sa others people, dili, di ba? So,
Yeah.
does it matter na, mumatter kita ang
Okay,
opinion.
Roy, inyo lang sex life.
Hindi
Why do
nga.
you need to compare to other people?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah. So mo to explain niya like what works for you may not work for other people. So, right?
That's
So,
comparison is the killer of joy.
that comparison is the killer of joy. Ay, pagka-kill joy
That's
ba?
so true.
Sorry.
Bahala na kag kinky ka diya. Bahala na. So, maybe
Pwede na
nalo
ito
ko
mag-skinny dipping. Ano?
ay ka na ka. Naklaro na. So, maybe nilalang ko yung last few questions, no? Let's say kay nagstorya man ta about kanay manginganing like different kind of stuff, and then nagstorya sa ta nga imong nahinumduman diri sa Pinas and everything. Maybe just to run down before ta mo end, like just few questions. Unsa man ang imuhang, let's say, looking back, if you were to give an advice, because I cannot remember if to be honest, I cannot remember if there's such thing for you nga ni come out. I do not know if it's in high school or college, or I do not know when. What would you give advice to your, let's say, communication in mention man kag 8 to 13 or something, to your 13-year-old, knowing what you know now, if you were to give advice to that 13-year-old?
Um, you know what? I People would always say like, "Oh, I wish I could change things. I
Mm-hmm.
wish I have a different upbringing. Blah 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 blah." But knowing what I know now and on therapy for 3 years, I'm all the experience, traumas, maybe anything negative and positive, make me who I am
Oh
as a
yeah.
person who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not change a thing, and I would gladly go through it again because this makes me resilient, makes me
Mm-hmm.
empathetic, makes me more emotionally intelligent because I've gone through with all those experiences. And even though there were bullies in high school, in boys' school, or anything like that, that makes me resilient as a person.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
me who I am. And being authentic, it's a process because again, it's our mind are very um, um, beautiful place to begin with because every 5 years we change.
Mhm.
Christian and Nico or Eileen from 5 years ago is not the same person right
So,
now. We change and we need to embrace that change and we need to be curious about who we are, what we want, and who we want to explore. Do we also, is sex more important right now than before? Maybe not. Or is sex more important now? Yes, maybe. So it really is that kind of that things. The more we are curious about ourselves and our partner, the more authentic we become because we are not coming from a place of judgment and shame, but a place of curiosity to get to know about ourselves and our partner.
mhm. So maybe let's say kanang ana no unsa may plan you mentioned earlier like plans nimo no like unsa may yung future plans you're already I do not know if I feel like you're already on top of what you're doing, but is there like what's beyond that?
Yes, I think I'm professionally. I think I'm on the top of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I want to have like an international practice where I could
Mm-hmm.
practice sex and relationship or couples therapy in the UK and in the Philippines, and
Mm-hmm.
have a retreat house in the Philippines that's like eco organic for couples who are undergoing difficulties in relationships and sex and intimacy, and also couples who are undergoing like um, probably like divorce if they want to go back together or not,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like that. But I want to create that space in the Philippines
Mm-hmm.
because I think we're lacking a lot of emotional coaching and relationship coaching
Mm-hmm.
in the Philippines, most especially in Southeast Asia, because of our notion of shame, our
Yep,
notion
yep,
of religious concept, our notion of about what society dictates us, and
yeah.
that really hinders us as a human being and to be our most authentic self. Because nga naman, Filipinos are very concerned about what other people think about themselves.
Yeah. The fact na ngutana si Bads, no?
Mao gyud ang mga Pilipino. Mao
Okay,
gyud.
like hearing this from you, no? So natin mga atong mga kabatchmates or some of your friends, among mga friends. So I'm actually very also like what you're saying. I do agree. Like Filipinos, like napaghihapon tana, no? Especially also for me, like someone who naka-travel, naka-stay na like somewhere, lived somewhere, and then still being like fully kay Filipino magyapon ko even though I'm not in the Philippines, I'm still Filipino. So the society or the people around me is still like mostly Filipino. Unlike you, like I guess surrounded na ka lain-lain nga klase mga tao. So it's really I do agree nga kanang ingana like napaghapon ta na sa Pilipinas. So I hope you can find or you can make that kind of community, and maybe if like I said sa atong mga friends or our friends or family nga nag-hear ani nga nag-watch makadungog sa mo gisulti if they want to invest maybe
Mm.
pangita lang ninyo si Neil Christian, and then or you can let us know, no? Because like gisulti ni Baulita ni Neil Christian as like ganahan sa mo invest in the Philippines on something that it also to educate, give insight to this kind of matters. It's actually very
Yeah,
important.
but you know what?
So
It's a very difficult
yeah,
genre to penetrate in the Philippines because of the intricacies or intricate complexities of religious backgrounds and religious
yeah,
um, um, powers that placed in the
mm-hmm,
society. So
yeah.
so
I
um,
mean, yeah,
I'm not there to change things. I'm there
mm-hmm,
to understand and give a space
mm-hmm,
for people to understand themselves. And I'm
mm-hmm,
not there to
mm-hmm,
promote divorce. I'm not there to promote
mm-hmm,
different kinds of sexualities and sexual pleasure. I'm there to let them understand that there's possibilities
yeah,
and there's different kinds of norms and there's different kinds of like practices that oh okay, it's okay because we are
mm-hmm,
so shrouded with shame, and it's
yeah,
just and that's just part of our society and we need to accept that. But we need to, as we grow as a person, we need to take that veil out and say like what really is hindering us from fulfilling our authentic self and for fulfilling our sexual pleasures.
Yeah.
So, thank you kay Way. Like, I know ni ask ka na ko for 1 hour per more, 2 hours na to nagstorya. like
It's so
the
interesting, right?
conversation.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we're really thankful nga naka-join ka na mo karon, okay? Like I said, it's very insightful, and I do hope nga kana ganing what like you said, like whatever you want to achieve more, I think you still want to achieve more. Maybe eventually makakita man nimo sa TED Talk, ha? Maybe makakita man nimo TED Talk Cambridge Neil Christian Baulita.
Yeah,
So,
to them,
basig ma
facility, we could provide solar power kami ni Nico.
ayay
Baka,
ka.
There you go. We're looking for solar panel actually, so I need to get your insights on that.
Ayay ka, Tara. Wala problema ba? Na sponsor. Aw.
goal.
No,
So anyway, yeah,
we need to support
exactly.
businesses.
Exactly.
So I
So
think, now
yeah,
a
I just want,
question,
yeah, go
Dean.
ahead.
I
Yes.
have a question. Kanang, so if naime tayong mga viewers ba, do you offer kanang online consultations?
Yeah,
Correct.
so I'm doing my master's on that one, so I could provide international consultations, so that I could have like my international license. So I'm still on it, but wait there. But eventually, that's my plan. So I could be based both in the Philippines and in the UK.
Mhm.
Help couples, clients, and also do a camp, maybe relationship camp,
Mhm.
relationship group
Workshop.
therapy, workshops, and all. And basically, just it's really not challenging. Maybe
Mhm.
challenging, but it's also um, look addressing our cultural biases, addressing intergenerational trauma, and also addressing intimacy issues in mixed cultural relationships.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you once again. Thank you again, Neil Christian, for joining
Thank
us.
you.
And I would just also like to thank you sa mga audience nga ni Tanaw and then nag-ask sa mga questions. If you still have more questions, post lang sa inyong question, and then maybe we can ask also Neil Christian to answer some of that question because we're not the experts here. Siya man. No? So again, Pit
All right.
seniors ninyo
Thank
tanan,
you,
thank
everyone.
you very much. Good morning dia bay, and then good evening diri sa Pinas sa Asia. Thank you, Mang Usyoso ta. Till
Thank you.
next time.
Time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Ikaw, Enchan.
Yeah, yeah.